Hi, and welcome to the Feel Good Always podcast. I'm Becky Bradley, and this is real stories of love, connection, and remembering who we are. I'm here with Michelle Cunningham. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to get right into it today. I'm going to anybody that's new here, I bring people onto this podcast. We're talking about like a higher level of consciousness. That's what the Feel Good Always podcast is about, really. It's bringing this higher level of consciousness onto the earth so that we really can feel good always. And one by one, bringing people here as I feel I really have a team. My daughter, Keira Bradley, on the other side, she died in a tragic UTV accident, but in that happening, I have really been connected to her and a big team, including Michelle's parents, Rocky and Donna, who are on the other side helping us bring this energy onto the earth, moving into this great awakening. And on this podcast, there's just one person after another, real people telling real stories of how we find this connection. And our story is really beautiful. And I'm just really excited to share our story. It's really cool because ours starts a long time ago. So Michelle is the stepmother to my older children, Maddie and Tyler. So she married my former husband, Matt. So I was married to Matt right out of high school. We had 2 kids, Maddie and Tyler. We were married for 10 years. And sometime right before, I think you started working with Matt when I was still married to him, right? Okay. They were working together and Matt and I end up getting a divorce. I get married to my current husband pretty quickly within 18 months and my current husband, Mike. And a couple years later, you marry Matt. Yes. And so the fairy tale story of all of this is that even though Matt and I divorced, and even though, typically people wouldn't be friends, we became friends very early on. So it's been like 20 years since Matt and I divorced. And then you came in a little bit after that. You were already kind of there because you knew Mike and you were friends with Mike. But people always say like, oh, it's so nice that you guys do this for the kids. And so Is it for the kids?
No, I hesitate to say too much about that because that's the first reaction that I get is, oh yes, everyone should always do that for the kids. I'm like, well, don't give me that much credit. Like I wasn't like totally selfless in this, but it made things easier. Sure. At first, for them, but then you and I just kind of gravitated towards each other.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, what are we doing this weekend? Well, let's ask Mike and Becky. And then it just like organically just shaped.
We were magnetized to each other. What we're talking about now, higher level of consciousness. We come together, we find our people. We found each other a long time ago. And it just so happens that you're all of us, even Matt, Matt, who is my former husband, but Mike and him are best friends. I love him dearly, never stopped. I know people don't really understand that. It's not as weird as it sounds. It's like, we just couldn't, didn't mean when we got divorced, it didn't mean that I didn't care about him. It just meant that it wasn't that kind of a relationship anymore. And I was really happy that he found somebody and he was happy it wasn't that easy, you guys. I mean, there was a year of rockiness. We had that transition period, but we all chose to, thankfully, Matt and we chose together to not talk about each other and, not to make sure that it was easy for our kids. Really, when I look at all of our relationships, first of all, we're magnetized towards each other and we think of each other as soul family. We can see it really clearly now. But at the time, I would always think, well, it takes 4 people. It took Matt and Mike and you and me all not having jealousy or weirdness around it. It was just 4 people that like actually had a lot in common. And it was a little strange to other people, but everybody around us, we know a lot of people and they're all very used to it. They're like, yeah that's you guys.
I want to bring up the one time that we were invited to the lake house. You guys invited us to your parents' lake house. And that was like
a long time ago.
That was early.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like maybe a year or 2 after.
And I remember you go to me, oh my God, I like him so much better now that he's your husband.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to say.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was something we would do a lot over the years. He would be annoying at a party to her, maybe not, and I just laugh. Now I think he's funny, I'm like, oh, he's funny when he's your husband. And she's just rolling her eyes because he's annoyed. You're annoyed at him. So the other thing is that, the Cunningham family, which is which is his family, his sisters, my best friends since we were like 15 years old, his brother, all of them, they are, you know, I consider my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, these are people that Matt and I got together when we were 16, very close to his family. They're my family. So I never left. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Matt, I never left. We divorced. You came in. Mike came in. Keira and Lila. Mike and I have Keira and Lila. And, you know, it's like, oh, it's just Uncle Matt and Uncle Josh. And, you know, this is part of, so when I look at my life, our lives, it's really just this feel good always. It feels better to do this. It feels better to be able to consciously separate from somebody. Now, we didn't have those words and it didn't look so pretty for about a year, but neither one of us wanted it to be uncomfortable or anything like that. And then we were all able to be friends and go on vacations together, even without the kids. I mean, we did that in like 2011.
Yeah.
That was fun.
We went to Vegas.
Yeah. That wouldn't be so fun these days, but maybe. So all of this happens. We are, you know, Tyler and Maddie are raised. You're very much a part of our lives, Keira and Lila's lives. We spend lots of weekends together. We hang out together like a family, like a big family, which is, yeah, it's great for Tyler and Maddie and everybody because they want to hang out with us. We all hang out together. It's great for Keira and Lila, no different. They were raised right in this. And so they never knew anything different. We all have hung out. So you're very close with Keira and Lila also. Just this really close-knit family, which is, you know, I'm so thankful. And then if we move forward and we'll kind of hop around a little bit to when Keira dies, you guys are the first people there and stayed. I think I want to say something about that I remember looking at that time, that period of time, and how you were like the only people we could be around. Yeah. And because at some point, I just couldn't handle all of the people. I loved all these people, but I couldn't handle them. I could only handle my own family, my kids, Mike, and then some of my kids' friends that have been around for years, and you and Matt. And I remember thinking, and this is such a lesson for everybody, 20 years ago when we split up and I'm crying in my closet, my life is over, I'm ruining my children's lives, and it's going to be so hard forever. You just never know what's going to happen. And here, of course, we've had this friendship, but it's like to think that these are going to be the people that walk you through the hardest thing. Yeah. And Matt walked Mike through it and continues to. And the level of, here's my ex-husband and my current husband, and they're both just, you know, to watch Matt show up for Mike, it's just so beautiful, and continue to, and his heart's breaking, Matt's heart's breaking because he loves Keira, he loves us, he loves his children, Maddie and Tyler, their sister has died, and you know, everybody could imagine all of this, but you guys just showed up over and over and over and over again consistently. It's like just wild to think about because it's like a movie. Really, if you think of the whole story of just our whole lives together. I want to rewind though, because you're a really integral part of Signs for me. So let's talk about your parents and what happened with you a couple years. It's like a year and a half before Keira dies. What happens with you?
Yeah, so my dad had prostate cancer and he didn't seem sick. So he was 92, I think. And we kind of, like when he got diagnosed and the way he was just, the way he was still baking, he was still golfing, he was still like working around the house. Like he just didn't seem like he was a person that had cancer. And we would kind of laugh a little bit and be like, he does not, like they're wrong. Like this, you know.
Typical Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I get like, we talked about pre-mourning, you know, a little bit. And I think
anticipatory grief.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what the term is, I guess, where when you start to see that you worry about somebody or they, you know that they're going to die and start worrying about them. And people do this long before anybody is ever even dying. They start fearing their parents' death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thankfully he wasn't like incapacitated or anything. He wasn't like, you know, it came on like that. And so, you know, like I said, he drove over to our house like on a Tuesday, made us banana nut bread, and then Saturday he was gone.
Wow.
And so in that, during his transition, it was weird for me because it was like, wait, what is happening?
Fast.
Yeah, it was so fast. And him and I had a conversation, and he had a peaceful death. Like he went, quietly. It was in his home.
You were there.
I was there. And yeah. And so I was okay with it, like, okay, wow, this just happened. And then I had my mom to take care of, and she was adamant about staying in her house. And I was like, okay, like, this is weird. I feel weird leaving you alone in this house.
Yeah.
And so I was there all the time. We didn't really talk too much about Dad. I would catch her like staring off, and I would try to talk to her a bit about it. But my focus was so much on my mom and making sure that, and worrying about her and making sure she was okay, that I think like I pre-grieved for my dad, and then I kind of tucked it down.
Because you got busy taking care of your mom. And how long have they been married?
A little over 50 years.
So they've been together a long time. And Rocky transitions, and then Donna, your mom, Donna. Yeah, so now you're taking care of her.
Yeah. And then so 8 months later, she starts to not feel well, and she had congestive heart failure. And being with her every single day, I don't think I was really noticing like how frail she was getting, or whatever, because I was just used to seeing her. And then my brother came to visit because we were actually going to have my dad's celebration of life.
Yes.
That weekend. Yeah. And so all of a sudden my brother was like, Mom doesn't look so good. Like she's having a hard time breathing. Like, I think you need to, take her. And this was during COVID still. Like we were at the tail end of it, but there were still protocols. So I took her in the ER, and she went quick. Like it was super quick. Like
she waited for your birthday.
Well, yeah.
Or Easter.
Did. Yeah.
Which was it?
We celebrated both my birthday.
Yeah, okay. Because I remember we were all over there.
Yeah.
We all came over, and your mom was there. And then how much longer after?
2-3 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was aware when that happened. I was like, wow. Donna made sure that she made it to your favorite holiday, which is Easter. Yeah. And then, she transitions like 3 days later. And then this is where it comes in that you start sharing what starts happening.
Yeah. And so I just want to, this is kind of funny because like on her deathbed, poor little gal, I'm looking at her and I'm just like, do you see anyone in the room, Mom? And she's just like, no. And I'm like, okay.
Because you're like, I want to know what you see right now.
Yeah. And then I'm like, Mom, do you promise you're going to come back to me? Like you're going to come and send me signs. You're going to like come back. And she's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden it was like, she was gone. Like she was gone. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Okay. So now both my parents are gone.
Which you've taken care of your parents like on a level that most people do not. You were taking care of them on a regular basis, spending lots of time with them. And then your mom in those last 8 months, you were with her nonstop. So you go from that to now they're both physically not here.
Yeah. Yeah. So you go through all the things that you're tasked with doing, which is so weird, such a weird ritual. So you're, taking care of the house and, letting people know and all this stuff. And you're literally like, you feel like you're in this tunnel, and like people are looking at you, and people are staring at you, and people are treating you like, glass.
Grief.
And you're like, it's almost like you're embarrassed. Like you're like, I don't want to break down, but like, I feel like I shouldn't feel this bad, but I feel terrible. Like I don't. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we handled all the business. So now everything should be over. And so I think I just kind of tucked it down, and like, but I would talk to you a bit. I guess that came a little bit later. I guess I was pretty quiet about it. I didn't really let too much out. I remember thinking, wow, I haven't really cried that much. And then somebody told me to watch Tyler Henry.
Tyler Henry, yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
And he's a medium.
And he's the medium to the celebrities and all this stuff. And so I'm watching the show, and I have 3 huskies, as you know. And I was out in my backyard, and I was watering, and all of a sudden I had this hanging planter in my backyard on the gazebo. And I saw that there was a bird in there. And I was like, oh, there was like some kind of a dove that's taken up residence. I'm like, that's pretty brave. Like, I can't believe you're that close to my dogs that can totally
And you never
get
have had
you.
anything like that back
Never.
there.
Like usually they'll make a nests out in the trees a little bit at the edge of the yard or whatever. And then I have to worry about that all season. And then I was just like, okay, that's weird. You're brave. And I go in and I watch this Tyler Henry thing. And then there's this episode where they're talking about like mourning birds and how like I can't remember what the actual episode was, but somebody's parent or daughter died and there was a mourning bird that came to them. And he's like, oh yeah,
like a mourning dove.
Loved ones will sometimes send a mourning dove, just to like bring people closure, bring people comfort. And I was like, what? And I run out there and I look and I'm like, oh my God. And so I take a picture and I send it to you.
Yeah, you sent it to me.
And then I was like, okay, I wonder if I could get other signs. Like, I wonder if I could like kind of demand or ask for another sign. And so I'm walking the dogs. And I said, okay, Mom, you said you were going to come back and I have not heard from you. It's been like almost a week. And I'm kind of mad.
How soon was the mourning dove?
Oh, it was immediate.
Yeah. It was like the morning. Yeah. And then of course somebody else in your physical world has already directed you to Tyler Henry. So these things are laid out. We see it now. These things are laid out so that you start to see the signs. And so now I just wanted to make sure that people know it was like immediately after this dove, there's a nest, and then you go on to ask her for more.
Yeah. So I said, okay, Mom, send me a single white feather. And I was like, okay, like you heard me. I was clear. I said it out loud. So I go on my walk and I walk like sometimes like 3 miles or whatever. So it's a while. I've given her plenty of opportunity.
Come on, Donna.
And so I'm like, and I'm looking, like I'm searching and I don't see any I'm like, really? All these birds flying around? Like there's no, like you can't send a white feather. I'm like, whatever. And I get mad. And then I come home and now I've kind of forgotten about it. And I'm like watering or whatever. And all of a sudden, like this single white feather just comes down like right in front of my face, like not even near a tree. And I was just like, and then I take a picture and I send it to Becky. I'm like, oh my God, I know you're in this. I knew you're an atheist. Like, and you were kind of transitioning out of that.
I was not an atheist. I was an atheist in our friendship. In 13, I start to awaken and I was willing to pray and to do all those things. I had been writing to God and all this. I just wasn't really 100% sure. I definitely wasn't born this way. Let's put it that way. But you knew to send it to me.
Yeah.
And I had never had any real connection to signs. And so in my life, it looks like a breadcrumb of you were introducing these things to me ahead of time because, and this is like not that far ahead of time.
Year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half. And then it kind of escalated and you would share more and more. And you were getting like hearts out in nature, or you'd come to your car and there'd be like a heart drawing and
the music. Yeah, the songs that would come on the radio. Yeah, so it was white feathers for a long time, and then like I was like, okay, let's see who else I can do this with. And like, Dad, like send me hearts. Yeah, and then I went to sometimes I would feel like it takes me to get mad before they'll send me a sign, but I don't think that's quite how it works. But
they're just like, wait, like you have to trust us. It's like this relationship of like trust that it's coming. And also for me, I feel like it's like, stop looking. It's coming. Like it's when you're present, but maybe not looking. And I love that you asked for it. So like people listening, I mean, you can ask specifically over. I mean, I've done some podcasts about like you're about to see a rainbow or whatever, but you can ask specifically and then it speeds up, which we know that. Right. It's sped up since then for you to all kinds of, but this was the opening, your parents and you starting to have this conversation with the other side. And then being able to show you something in the physical world.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I'm trying to think the timeline there. Somewhere in between there, I went to that birthday at the winery and there was a medium there and she just started telling me stuff. And so that's when I found out about the Shasta song. So my dog Shasta, who I love to death, my very first dog, she passed away and I used to sing this Red Hot Chili Pepper song to her.
Yeah.
Under the bridge. I don't know why I sang that song. And I never hear that song. I never hear it. I don't have it on a playlist or whatever. And so when I would hear it, I would think of her, but I still didn't put it together like it was a sign. But then the medium tells me, she's like, oh, somebody's telling me about this song. And I'm like, what song? And they're just like, I don't know what song. And I leave, and I'm like, okay, whatever, trying to think of a song that maybe my mom sung or whatever. And I get in the car to leave that birthday, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers come on right when so it's like the timing.
Yeah.
It's like what you're thinking about. It's all of it lining up. And so the day with my dad signed, because I even said, I'm like, Dad, I know I gave you a hard one, but I want a heart. Like, I'm not changing the sign. It has to be a heart. And I go to the gym, I work out, I come back out to my car, and there's a imprint, like not a drawing, like not somebody like had a wet finger and went like that. Yeah. It was like, I don't know. It was an imprint
out of nowhere.
Perfect heart on my driver's side window. And I was like, oh my God. And I get my camera, I take a picture, obviously, send it to you. I get in the car, I turn on the radio, and Shasta's song's on.
So you had like back-to-back signs.
Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, oh my God. And when that happens, your heart races, like your vibration is raised. And then it just starts to like.
So what happens on my end from all of this, you're sharing this. You're one of the first people that's bringing this idea of signs to me. You're sharing it. I actually have one other person that's sharing her dad. She, like, right when you sent me the morning dove, her dad is on the other side, and she had seen a hawk that was like staring at her on her patio. And so both of these things are coming to me at the same time. But one of the things I want to say about it is it's you sent it to me, and I was laying in bed with Keira, showing her these pictures, talking to her a couple months before she transitions. And I told her, like, I'm going to send you, I think I said, I'll send you squirrels, which ends up being Rocky. Rocky sends squirrels. But I said, I'm going to send you squirrels. And she was like, well, I'm going to send you, I don't remember what she said. Probably rainbows. But she told me what she was going to send me. And I looked at her and I said, well, you're not going to send me anything, because obviously I'll be gone. I'll be dead. I'll be sending you things. And so that's also a little breadcrumb, because our souls know, and that all of that happens. So if we go into after Keira, obviously the soul crushing knock on the door, you experience side by side with me all of this horrible grief, which pain for you, pain for me, you watching me walk through it. I remember immediately wanting to talk to you. I mean, you came over by like 6 a.m., 7 or 8 hours later, but like, what about the signs? What about the signs? And there was a lot of times where it just didn't matter about the signs, but we were getting really a huge amount of signs right away. And of course, like, who cares? My child literally is not walking through the door. So it was like, I want the signs and I don't want the signs, because the signs are painful. Because I shouldn't have to be communicating with my child like this. You end up inviting. Well, I want to talk about this specific thing that happens, because we had kind of talked about this, like the things that were profound for you. And what's also interesting is that Matt is seeing all of this happen, sign after sign. I mean, every day, and you guys are at my house pretty much morning till night in those first maybe month. You're there a lot. I mean, I guess I could tell this story, but I know it was really profound for both you, and I remember seeing Matt go, like, this might be real. Because
I just got the chills.
Yeah, that was a moment, an opening for him and all of us.
Well, so before you get into it, so between the time that my parents passed and then Keira, I'm doing all this other research, right? Because it's like, I don't want to talk about this stuff to my friends all the time, because it's like they don't get it. They haven't had loss yet. They're not there. So I'm just like doing all this research, and I'm learning about life after death. I'm like joining all these groups on Facebook and listening to all this stuff. And I've got all this like intel, right? And like, what am I going to do with it? And so I'm just like sitting there watching you. And I'm like, I want to say so much stuff that I think will make her feel better, but it's not going to make her feel better. Like, that's ridiculous to think that that's going to make her feel better. So I'm like inside my mind, just.
But you did make me, your presence made me feel better. Your presence made me feel better. Whether you had the thing to say or not. And it could be the site. I mean, obviously we're soul family. We know that, but your presence, that you could just stand with me, not try to tell me, like, we have to, in grief, in pain like this, you have to kind of intuitively listen that you don't need to fix, that you'll go on a walk with me. Like whatever I needed, you were there to be there and not push anything on me. And had to also side by side your own pain of Keira dying. It really makes you question everything. And it's very painful, not only because of that, but because now all these people, your stepchildren, Maddie, Tyler, are experiencing, the whole family's falling apart essentially. And you're watching that, and you also have all this information. So you can have both of those things, but it's like, when do you say it? And you said it perfectly. I mean, because I would kind of go in and out, like texting you, like, I can't do it. I know that scared you. I was like, I can't. Absolutely not. I can't. I cannot do it. Like, I'm not going to make it. That's what it felt like over and over. And really, I just needed somebody on the other end of those messages or those. And I would just be like, I can't. I literally can't live through this. There's absolutely no way. I can't. And whatever you said back to me, it's all a blur. Yeah, that ability to hold space for that amount of pain. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And then your own anxiety and all of that I'm sure, fear, all of that. And the knowing that sits side by side, because this podcast is literally about transmitting a frequency, feel good always, because we are remembering who we are, the knowing that separation is an illusion. So we can stand in the grief portal, essentially, is what it was for me. It was an opening that now I really understand and feel the separation is an illusion. And I could look back in my life, our lives together, and how we came into each other's path. Your parents die, they start sending signs, you share those signs. And so, so what happens that about a week later, 8 days later, I know this was a powerful experience. At this point, we've had rainbows appearing. We've had on Christmas Day, we're talking about Keira. We look down, we're at somebody else's house. There's a friendship bracelet that she made for a friend, literally standing in the middle of the circle of our family, a bracelet that she made. Rainbows around the moon.
The ladybugs.
Tons of ladybugs. The house filled up with ladybugs everywhere. A picture of her on the wall where she's got her arms outstretched looking at the ocean, falls off the wall. Never has that happened before. While Taylor Swift comes on. So, I mean, it goes on and on. But the one really, so this woman, her name is Dee Dee. Dee Dee's son had been in an accident 19 years previously, and he had transitioned in an accident. And she comes right in immediately, gets introduced to me through Quinn's mom, Kristen, who's been on the podcast. And Dee Dee immediately is like, separation is illusion, separation is illusion. So she's feeding me this. She's telling me this information. So we're talking 8 days later on Christmas Eve. I'm dying. My husband's dying. We're dying. I'm telling her, we're not, I don't know what to do. This is really, really bad. I mean, it's frightening. It's horrible. It's as bad as anybody could ever think, and worse. And she's like, can I do some Reiki on you? She's trying to help. We end up deciding to go to a park. So we walk into the park. We're going to meet her and her former husband, the father of Emmett, and me and Mike. This couple, these parents that are their child 19 years ago, they've experienced what we're experiencing. So they decide to meet us there. We walk into the park, and she goes, do you want to sit here at this table? And I say, no, I don't want to sit there. It just didn't feel right. Then we went to the next one, playground. Nope, don't want to sit there. I pointed over to the third table. I want to sit there. So we sit there. They talk to us, a lot of really beautiful stuff and heartbreaking. I cried my eyes out. There's no way I could live. Mike, the whole time I'm like, I'm never going to be able to live through this. Like, there's just absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. And they were really trying to help us. They're trying to explain that, like, there's a bigger picture happening here and that we planned this. They're like, you and Keira planned this together. I'm like, what? I don't know. All I know is I want to die. I want to die. And I'm staring at the table the whole time, staring at it, crying. I don't think I could live through it. And at some point, an hour into it, Mike says to me, I know, but you just keep saying that you don't want to live, but like, look at that on the table. And I was like, what? And I literally had been staring on the table the whole time, and I had been breaking apart leaves, staring right at a big, huge, it said live carved on the table, live. And I was like, that energy that you just talked about filled up inside me, because I was like, what? So live on the table. I take a picture. These were the kind of things that happen. Like, wow, I didn't sit at the first table or the second table or the third table. I'm talking about not wanting to live, and it's literally carved on the table. So that was the beginning of her being Keira, my team, really saying, you have to live through this. And there was a lot of like, you have to live through it. This one, physical world, live right on the table, which was a very powerful sign. And I remember coming right back. You guys, of course, were at the house when we got back, and told you, Matt was like, whoa. And that was an opening for him, which he's had his own experiences, double rainbow on his 50th birthday, which is really cool to watch. I'm not saying he's where we're at, but he will say things like, that's a sign, right? It's like, even the openness to it is really cool, as this whole entire family, is being brought into this higher level of consciousness. So all of that happens. But for you, one of the things I really wanted you to come here and share is where it led you, because I know that you got really into Dolores Cannon's work. If you want to explain or start talking about that, the Dolores Cannon stuff, and what you learned from that. And I know that, what she does and all of that.
Yeah. So like I said, when I was kind of just searching for answers and searching for other people's experiences on Facebook, especially, joining all these different groups, then all of a sudden, my algorithm, right? Like I start getting these reels of Dolores Cannon speaking about her work. Yeah. And so I just start buying up all her books, and I looked up how she wrote them because I started to like read a little bit more about her. And so then I wanted to read them in order. And so I started reading them.
So who is she?
And then, so I come to find out, like, okay, so what is this really about? Because the books can be a little bit dry, right? And so I'm like, how did she get into this? And, what is this about? Because at first I was like kind of looking at like mediums and psychics and people, coming on channels or whatever, talking about that kind of stuff. I'm like, this lady's different. What is this? And so I do a little bit more research, and I come to find out that she's basically a hypnotherapist. She started in the late 60s. It was her and her husband, and she was helping people with she would help people with like weight loss or trying to quit cigarette smoking, but she was also trying to heal people's traumas. Like, just, she had this theory that like anything that's going on in your mind is also going to manifest physically. And so she was like, let's use this hypnotherapy technique to resolve these issues and see if we can resolve some of your physical issues. So that was like what she had set out to do. And so she's doing some sessions, and she does what they call QHHT, quantum healing hypnotherapy. And so she's in a session, and she's using this technique and taking somebody back, and she's thinking or assuming that she's just going to take them back to some experience in their childhood or early adulthood that triggered something that she's trying to fix. And she's asking questions, and sooner or later she comes to realize, wait, like your answers are kind of weird. Like, I feel like I'm not talking to the person that is sitting here. Fast forward, she's talking to people in past lives. And so she'll dig in and be like, okay, so what do you see around you, and what are you wearing? And then they would like say things that tells her, it's not in this time period. Like, you're obviously like in the 1800s, like you're living in some little French house or something. And so then she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm taking people through past lives. So fast forward through that, and she starts writing all these books, and she comes to find out that people have more than just a few lives. They have like hundreds of lives, maybe thousands of lives in some cases. And so I'm reading up all her books.
What's interesting about this is that what I always say is the information will find you. It's not your Facebook algorithm. It's your algorithm.
Yeah.
Our lives are algorithms. So yes, you could say that it found you because you were in the grief group, but Dolores Cannon's work found you, and that's where you got in touch with starting to remember what you already knew, which I think is important to mention. The things that you were reading about in these books, you had already had suspicions that these things, kind of a knowing about these things. And these books came to somewhat confirm, teach you some new stuff, but also to confirm, right? Am I right? I want to say for anybody that's listening, when we start to awaken and come into this higher consciousness, it comes to everybody differently. It could come to you through all these books, which I read one of the books. Did you read them all?
I did not read them all. She's got quite a few, 15 to 20. I've probably read maybe 8 or 10.
That's a lot of books. Yeah. And you've got a lot of information that's confirmed through also your outside world and your experiences that you've had. And and then you did a QHHT, did you?
It wasn't that type of hypnosis, but I did do like a regular one.
Past life regression. Yeah. I did a QHHT, and I did it, and it was gifted to me. Of course. The person that's doing the session, administering it, they are walking you through all of this, and they have you list questions ahead of time that you wanted to ask your higher self about. And for me, there was some past life stuff in there, but there's always like a piece that's important. And for me, looking back, the most important piece that came out of there was like my soul's purpose is trust. And that my higher self was saying I should trust, and I should write about trust. And so I listened and I started writing about trust, and I did that every day. Like I've said a lot of times on here, how do you trust when your child dies? How do you trust the grander plan when your child dies? And so I listened to that. And so that's how it helped me. Like if somebody wanted to do something like that, but it's like you have to really surrender to the experience. And I think that's the hardest part. And it does take things like sometimes grief or complete suffering to really be willing to seek like you did.
Yeah. And so a couple of things I want to say about Dolores Cannon, because people are going to wonder, why did you jump to past life regression? Like, what does this have to do with what you guys were talking about? And the connection or the other nugget, I guess, is that in her journey and in her writing, she's excited that she's meeting these people within her client, taking her back to these different times, and she's meeting all these different lives within one client. And then one day, all of a sudden, she is talking to somebody who's between lives. And so then that's like a whole nother door for her to walk into and explore. And then that's when she starts writing about the Akashic records and the tapestry of life and the different levels of learning and all this stuff. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm actually excited to die. Like it just paints like this picture. And you hear, like you've seen videos or shows of people that talk about their near-death experiences and what things are like. And this touches on that, and it's very much like that. But it's like, all I can say is like, it's more, and it's more. And it's like, yes, it's exciting to read this from somebody who's not a psychic, who's not super religious, who's not like, from a religious perspective. She is just taking in clients who are coming to her with some kind of like health issue or whatever the reason is. She's taking them to past lives all of a sudden, and now exploring what life is like between lives. And she's reporting it, and she's doing this with thousands and thousands of people, and seeing
tons of similarities.
And the other thing also is because like it wasn't all excitement, it wasn't all happiness when I'm reading it. There were some things in there that I was like, well, how do you that still sounds like perspective to me, right? And so the one thing I do want to call out is that it's like, I assumed that once you die, that you're all knowing, that you know everything, like all the answers just flood to you. God just gives you all the answers. And I don't necessarily think that's how it happens. I think you keep learning,
ascending,
and you keep going, and you keep coming back, and you keep learning. Like it just keeps going. And so some of these people who try to connect with their loved ones on the other side, and they might be disappointed, or they might feel like, well, how come, they're saying this, or how come the message is like this, or whatever. It's like, they're not done. They're not done.
Yeah.
Like there's more for them.
And we know that. I mean, we're experiencing that with all of these children on the other side that are not children. They're expansive souls. They're ascending. We're ascending. We come down here. We make agreements. We continue on. We do know through the reading that you've done, the reading that I've done, the experience that I've had, that when we leave these bodies, it's a freedom, and it feels like knowing a lot more than what we knew when we were here. It's just that we continue to evolve and ascend on the other side. And really, we're doing it here because I have had a major amount of really just ability that my consciousness expanded, and it's not just about connecting to the other side. It's this multidimensional connection. And so we read The New Earth. If you want to talk about any part of that book,
The New Earth,
or any part of that, I mean, really just The New Earth in general. One thing I want to say is that you read it and you'd use discernment, which means that you don't take everything that Dolores Cannon says as this is actually the end all be all. We have to listen to ourselves, and everything that's coming through anyone, coming through me, coming through you, coming through Dolores Cannon, coming through mediums, it's going through the perspective of a human mind and then coming out. So we really have to listen to ourselves, which is what you were talking about doing with Dolores Cannon, that you got a lot of confirmation of things that you already knew, and then that there's things that you're like, well, I'm not sure. And we can't completely know. Although,
right.
Although we get fed a lot. I mean, I get fed a lot of confirmation that I'm like, I know, and you don't have to believe me, but there's certain things that I know for sure, like an ability to merge consciousness and multidimensional communication and in the quantum field, and that we're co-creating, and because I experience it. So that the experience we can have, or the knowing where you come into this situation with some things that you already knew, because we're really just remembering. We're walking towards this as humanity moves into this ability to connect in this level, that we don't actually have to die first for it to happen. We don't have to die first. It's actually wild what's happening. And that I can be connected to Keira. It's not the same way. She's not physically here. Of course, I wish she was. But that I can feel her in this space, that it's different. There's not really words to describe this level of connection, this ability to really feel and embody the words that separation is an illusion, and it continues to ascend. So when I say that, it's like we keep going. On Earth, we continue to ascend, and when we leave these bodies, we continue to ascend. And so she talks about that in The New Earth. I mean, she talks about a lot of things in that book, but there's a lot of other places that people are talking about it too.
Yeah. And that's the part that gets me excited too, because I'm like, okay, how come nobody brought this to me before? This is exciting stuff here. Like you just want to scream from the roof. I knew it. This is, you get validation. And then it's like, okay, because some of it's so intense. I would tell you, I'm like, I need a break from Dolores Cannon for a bit. I need to read something else. And then I would read something else, and then it would tie into it. And I'm like, this isn't even about anything about that. And all of a sudden I'm getting more information, or I'll see a show about, something else, and not necessarily past life regression, but just, I'm like, I never heard the word Akashic record before, ever.
And now it's showing up in your
field.
And
now all of a sudden it's like, now I know what that is. Oh, I know what that is.
And now it's everywhere. It's that algorithm. So it's exactly what I just said. So now it's showing up because our lives are algorithms. And when you weren't ready until you were ready. And now we're here bringing, really, as forerunners, the people that are listening to this podcast. I'm not saying that there's not a lot, but there are a lot of people that are not feeling this, that we can say, hey, here's what's happening. And I know easily that when I'm not matching a frequency, which isn't really, most people in my field are a match, but, and that's okay. People are going to get it when they're ready, because I do believe it's coming for everyone, and it will look different for each person because everybody's coming with a different set of experiences. But it is, I mean, and like your parents died and then you got awakened, and then obviously me with Keira. Yeah, I'd love to just have her back and go back to that life. But if my child is going to, this did happen. And I can't even believe what I'm experiencing. I mean, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty, my whole body is lit up with light right now. It's just, And that's, I think, an important thing to kind of talk about too, is the way it feels in the body, that it can cause anxiety as you begin to awaken and come into these knowings where literally your field is bringing in things like Dolores Cannick, Akashic. Oh, wait, I need a break. And it's like, zoom, 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 everywhere you look. It's like, nope, you're not getting a break. And it can give you anxiety, or the energy can feel intense. But that's why we have things like this podcast. And that's why I tell everyone that is in my field, like all of us that are waking up, like take it seriously, because people are going to need help when the change comes. And this is not to scare people. It's not scary. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, but it is a transition and a feeling. And like, I know that you experienced a lot of anxiety and fear. I mean, it was coupled with the grief of Keira, but you experienced stuff like that. We could talk about before Keira dies, when we're out in the lake, and you know, that experience, which I do believe is you're starting to feel the energy. Now, yes, it's grief, but you're starting to feel the energy of what's coming through in the body, and it doesn't make sense. So do you want to talk about what happened that day? This is after your parents and before Keira died. So maybe like 6 months before.
Yeah.
Keira.
So back to when I was talking about how I just kind of like didn't really talk much about the grief or anything. I was just kind of like holding it down, I guess, and not even intentionally. Like I just thought that's what you're supposed to do. So you're just marching on.
We're not very good. So, I mean, our culture doesn't. They're like, well, parents die, and then they die, and you're just like, wait a second. I mean, my parents are still alive, but I know for you, what you've said is this is really freaking hard.
Yeah, because your whole life changes. But yeah. So you and I go paddleboarding. We go up to this alpine lake, and there's like no people around really. There's a couple houses on the opposite side of the lake, and it's just kind of a small lake. And we're paddleboarding, and we're talking, and we're just having
normal day,
a good time.
Feels normal.
And I'm an animal lover, obviously, and so like kind of over the top animal lover. And all of a sudden, there's this dog. Is a dark dog. Was it a black dog?
Probably. Black dogs are a sign for me. Yeah. Black dogs, they're threshold opening. So I'm going to say that because this is important. Black dogs, I've now learned, they will be like, I'll see a black dog and then the energy rises and everything starts to connect. And that actually makes sense that this was a black dog. Okay, go ahead with the black dog. So it was an opening for a big amount of energy to come in.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a mountain cliff, but it was a pretty big cliff, like a very rocky edge to the lake. And we're talking and I see this dog, and I think you pointed out, and you go, is that dog like stuck up there? Like it's kind of like acting like it doesn't know how to get down. And so we watched it for a while, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this can't happen on my watch, okay? Like this is gonna like ruin my whole day. And so I just immediately start going over to people's houses, right? Like I just started like paddling over and like trying to find somebody, and you're staying there like making sure that the dog doesn't
jump.
Yeah, like leave your sight or whatever. And so I'm like paddling, and I'm like and I don't think I looked like I was freaking out, but I'm freaking out inside. I'm like, if this dog jumps and gets hurt, like what, we're out of alpine lake, what am I supposed to do?
Your mind was going everywhere.
Yeah.
You were in fear.
And total fear.
Yeah.
And I think I feel like I made like 2 trips back and forth.
Yeah, it was kind of like a whirlwind, but the dog ended up being okay.
Yeah, we found the people.
But it does look a little scary when they're scaling the side of a mountain, but
yeah.
So it was after that though, so now the dog is fine. You and I continue to paddleboard, and then
like I can hear you talking, but everything just goes quiet. Like, and I'm just like, and my whole body just got really hot, and I started shaking just now, but I'm like, I remember shaking, and I remember thinking, okay, I just need to get to the land. And then we got to the land, and like we're pulling up our paddle boards. I'm like, I just need to sit. And I don't remember what I described to you.
I was hurting everything. Your whole body was
nervous I was gonna faint.
Yeah, you were not well. You were just like, you could barely even walk. And I think, and you were like, it didn't make any sense, but I was able to kind of connect some of the dots.
Like, did you eat something? Did you not eat? And I'm just like, oh my God, I just need this pain to go away. This is really weird.
You had a pain in your stomach.
Yeah. And so then we just kind of like sat there, and by the time we walked up to the car, I started feeling better. And I'm like, okay, I kind of feel better. Like, I think it just like went away. And you're like, I think you had a panic attack. I'm like, that's dumb. Like, no.
No, I did not have a panic attack. I'm like, you just had a panic attack.
And I'm like, that's not what a panic attack is. And so then we just drive home and we don't really, mention it much. And then, what was it, like a week later?
Yeah.
It happens again.
A missing dog.
It was a dog in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I am freaking out. Like, I'm not freaking out. Like, people are like, oh my God, what's wrong with Michelle? But I'm trying to help this dog and I'm freaking out inside. And then I get home and then that same thing happens.
In your body.
In my body.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, you're having a panic attack.
Yeah.
And then later I come to, I have, not exactly an episode like that where I'm feeling it in my body or whatever, but I start to make the connection of, fear. There would be certain things that happen, Matt climbing Mount Shasta, or, I don't know, any other thing that I'm doing that I'm not super comfortable with. I think the day that Clementine opened and we just had that, severe weather and the river was gushing, and I had this thing in my mind oh my gosh, it's way too high, this isn't safe. And I just was I got really
shaky.
Yeah, I got really weird. And I was like, okay, there's something going on. I have this weird fear of just things. Just things.
And it kind of came out of nowhere because you hadn't had that before.
Yeah.
You started getting this fear, shakiness in the body, all of that. I remember saying, you got to feel it, because I had been doing all this work. I think it's grief. I think it's grief. I think it's coming out in the body. Yep. I think this is what's happening. And the dogs are triggering it. And that's all true. I know. It's to go back there. And that is part of the feel good always, is that it will come out some way and it can feel scary. That doesn't make any sense, where we suppress and we don't feel, and then it can come out in panic attacks that make no sense. You're like, I'm literally paddleboarding on the water, and you can feel
place. Yeah.
Are you feeling it right now?
Yeah.
It's you can go back to that space of that. But I do believe too that when I talk about the energy coming onto the earth, that it also can feel not as extreme as what you were talking about, but it can feel like a lot of energy, and it can, if we're not careful, because our life is an algorithm. We're literally co-creating with the universe. So if we start getting in fear, more fear is going to come in.
Yeah.
You will bring more fear in. So I talked about on the podcast recently how fear was trying to come in and only love is real. And I went for a run and I burned it off, because I've learned that my field is so powerful that I bring people in and things. And so if I start getting in fear, I promise you, it will be magnetized to me, scary things. And so we have to be careful that we feel it in the body. What is this? We're curious about it, because your experience, yes, we can on a 3-dimensional level talk about it being grief, which it was, panic attacks, all of those things, but also this energy that's coming on the earth. It's beautiful, but it can also feel intense. And if you're not careful, especially if this starts to happen to people where they start seeing, the same name. I remember one day it was Taylor, 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 everywhere I went. Taylor, 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 Taylor. My phone made a video about Taylor, and then I'm on Taylor Road and the energy's pulling me and I'm trying to act normal. Don't be suspicious. I'm trying to act normal because so much was happening so fast. And I go into my Tyler and Abby's house, and I'm really just trying to make this energy stop, even though Keira's sending me signs like crazy, and it was such a high intense. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna act normal. And I look on the refrigerator, I open the refrigerator and there's an invitation for someone named Taylor. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's literally everywhere. Taylor's everywhere. And the energy was high. That's why I was like, I just want to be normal for a second. And then I walk in and I sit down and it's a boxing match, and the girl's Katie Taylor. And then Kira's friend Taylor texts me, and it was Taylor, 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 which now that stuff happens to me all the time. And that's why Keira says you're going to have to help people when the change comes, because this will happen to people at the rate that I'm talking about. That is what's coming for all of us. And to remember, that it's all normal. We're not crazy. I literally would see license plates that were you're crazy, or you've gone mad, or whatever, because whatever we believe will call in. And so that day when you had all of that stuff, black dog, all of that, and then it repeats itself. So with a dog the next week in that same body. Even right now, your body, I'm watching you, can go back to that moment and feel, even though consciously you're like, I'm safe, the dogs are safe, the body can go back to it. And so I think that's so important. That would be like, as we wrap this up, that would be a tip that I would tell people, is to pay attention. You can feel it in the body, but watch the mind. Because the mind, like you said, it's when we're in fear, and we'll have all kinds of stuff in the body. Our bodies are being upgraded. I feel like wild to say that, but that's just what's happened. Like, how can I connect in the way that I do if my body is not being upgraded? I have been able to hold this light. At first I was shaking like crazy, and I've been able to expand. So we got to take care of our bodies. It's super important. And as you have gone on this journey, one, through your own grief, through supporting somebody through grief, me and my whole entire family, yourself, and really awakening. You're awake and you're continuing to, like all of us, and we do this side by side. Thank God we have each other. We got a nice little text string going.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the
morning. I mean, and that's it too, sharing it with each other. You sharing it with me. When my daughter died, I was like immediately thinking about you. Like, of course I was anyways, but it was like, we share it and it builds it. And if we get on a text string, me, you, and Alicia, our friend Alicia, and I do this with lots of text strings, but as soon as we get in that text string and we start sharing stuff, we all start seeing the same things, which is really cool.
Yes. And that is like a true thing. Like, because I will start seeing your signs as soon as I talk to you.
Yeah.
And then when Alicia is talking to me, like her number's 3 for her dad. Yeah. And then like all of a sudden it's like my day is filled with 3s. And it's like I open my computer at work. It's like 3. Yeah. Just like,
it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It's coming. And the people that are listening to this podcast, it's coming for them, or they wouldn't be listening. And we're just telling stories one by one. So if you had to give advice to anybody, really, it could be on anything that we've talked about, like tips for people, a couple of things. And then after that, I'm going to ask you how you feel good always.
I think meditation's important. I've had a couple, I'm not good at it. And I've complained to you about that before. Like, I'm just like, I can't do it that good. And
what do you mean? I mean, yeah.
But like, you still just try to sit in silence and like listen, right? And then listen to your thoughts and, try to stay positive or whatever. Don't go to the fear. That's been a struggle for me. So there's get all the information, from all sorts of areas, but try meditating because I think it's so calming. I probably don't do it as much as I should, but
you do it. And that's a step, is just doing it. The meditation's it's a huge thing to just listen and observe. And I think if you're doing it at all, that's a huge step. I used to say, I'm not very good at it. And then I realized I had done it a lot, and now it's a practice. So to wrap this up, how do you feel good always? Or what does it mean to you?
Well, I mean, feel good always is one of the first messages that Keira sent. So that's what I think of. And I know that it's live in the moment. Yeah, live in the moment. Try to feel your way through things. Don't try to suppress it, and understand that even the heavy stuff, the hard stuff, it's a miracle that you can feel it, and you have to take all of it. It's not just about, the end result being in a happy place. It's everything. It's the love that's there, and that's everything.
Because only love is real.
That's right.
And that's what this feeling is. Yeah. This feeling is pure love. The feeling to feel all of the signs and all of the connections, it is love. It's really, those are words that we can say, and they're in all the songs and they're in everything. But really, that feeling of that only love is real. Gosh. And I'm so grateful to be in this human experience, to be able to feel it all, because that's what we came here for. Our souls came down here to feel.
That's exactly right.
Our souls came down here to feel. And I've learned this through this experience, because I've been feeling all kinds of ways. And I'm grateful for everything that we've experienced together in this lifetime. And it became very apparent to me, why we did this, why we chose to come here. And it was confirmed to you, which we didn't talk about, but it was confirmed to you that we're all soul family, that you and Matt Keira basically was like talking about how you guys are soulmates. And that's a funny story.
has to marry me every single time with no breaks.
Yeah, so that's a funny story. Keira confirms that you're soulmates, and then you go tell Matt, and then what does he say?
I said, babe, we're together in every single life. And he's like, no breaks.
And I love that so much. Yeah. So we come here, we do this together. We're doing it here. We're taking it seriously. We're enjoying our family. We do it together, and like it was always going to be this way, and it has not been easy, but we keep doing it. I'm thankful to have, I mean, it's just wild, our lives. I'm thankful to have you, the whole entire family. We're just really lucky. But when we choose this. We made choices over and over and over to feel good and to do what was to go with the flow, and that's how we end up together, and we were always going to be together. So I'm thankful.
Of course we were.
Yeah, because we're soulmates. I love you.
I love you.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. I love all of you. I do really love all of you. I know that, I mean, I'd be telling strangers I love them. I just hugged the guy that I never met here at Live Action Music. I am just having a good time here. So I love all of you. We all actually love each other. So thanks for listening, and tune in next time. Thank you, Michelle, and to everyone for listening along. Please follow or subscribe to the Feel Good Always podcast so you never miss an episode. And a quick reminder, the Keira Bradley Foundation Costa Rica giveaway is happening right now. So if you're listening before December 22nd, 2025, head to the show notes to enter. Every enter supports foster children and families, and someone's going to win an 8-day, 7-night trip to Costa Rica. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.